Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. My name is Dylan and this is Tech Warrior. Today we are going to be talking about the cheapest f1.7 lens that you can get, and we're going to be talking about the sharpness, the type of images that come out of this lens, and just the overall quality of it. Let's get into it. So today's video, as usual, is sponsored by teacherjobfairs.org, your teacher recruitment headquarters. All the links are down below. So today we have the f1.7 lens here. This is the Lumix G series lens. This is a 25mm lens. I'd say it's probably one of my favorite lenses that I have. I would probably say my favorite lens is probably my Nikon f1.7 prime lens, but this one's also going to be pretty good as well. So what is this lens? Well, this lens, it's a prime lens, which means that it only has one focal length, and that focal length is 25mm. So it's not going to shoot far, but it's also not going to be too close. So this lens is pretty good for kind of landscape photography, or actually very good for like videos like this, the one that you see me on right now, which I have set at actually 27mm on my kit lens. It's a zoom lens that I have for the Nikon. So when I bought this lens, it cost me around $150. I think it was like $147.99 to be exact on Amazon. And it comes with a lens hood, which is actually, you can actually hear it in the microphone. It's got a really heavy duty click. It's pretty heavy. It'll lock on and stay pretty tight. And the reason why for that is because it actually has these little rings on the inside of the hood on here. So you can go ahead and put ND filters on here, or if you want to go ahead and put things like one of those kind of lenses that you put on the front of another lens. So you can go ahead and have like a fisheye effect or even wider angle effect. I'm not really sure why you would use one of these lenses, because the thing is that Panasonic doesn't really make those. But I'm pretty sure you can probably put one, just a standard 52, I believe it's a 52mm thread. You can put that onto really any lens and just put it on this one as well. The build quality is actually very well done. The caps on here are actually pretty bad. I don't really like the caps on this lens, but of course that's not important. But what's great about this lens is it does have a metal mount. You can see here that it does have that metal mount for your Micro Four Thirds camera. But here's the problem that I see with this lens, is that it does not have a manual focus feature. Well, you can focus it manually on the GH4 if you switch to manual focus, but what you can't do is you can't actually change the aperture manually. If you want it to go to manual mode, you have to do it in the camera, and that's not terrible, but for Micro Four Thirds cameras, it's pretty common. So one thing that I really liked about this lens, because I just went to California to go ahead and shoot a music video, and one of the things that I did was I decided that I don't want to take my Nikon D3400 with me all the time. It's a great travel camera. It's got great focal lengths because I have multiple lenses for it. And it shoots really good quality images, like 6K pictures, right? It's really good. But the thing is I really wanted to get to know my GH4 that much more better. Sure, I've shot a few music videos with it and some short films, but I really wanted to see what it's like on the street. You know, what is it like when I'm not babysitting and when I'm not taking good care of it? So what I decided to do is I decided to take this lens with me. And this is one of the three lenses that I took. I took this lens, a 25mm. I took a zoom lens, which was actually very terrible. You're going to see the review that I have on that lens very soon. And I also went ahead and took my Nikon 35mm f1.8 prime, which is my favorite lens. I took that one as well because I have an adapter, and that one does have a manual switch on. But back to this lens. And what I did with this lens is I pretty much shot primarily with this. I was able to get some great landscape shots on this lens, which you guys are seeing right now. I was also able to get some incredible video with this lens. Very great video. And one thing I noticed about this lens is it's actually very sharp. It actually has some really sharp images. It takes pretty good quality images. The edges, they're not really that sharp, I'm not going to lie. They're not that great. The center's actually pretty sharp, though. It's not that bad, which is actually pretty good. The other thing is I did not notice a lot of barrel distortion with this lens. It doesn't have a lot of distortion on the edges. It doesn't do too bad. But one thing I did notice with this lens, two things actually. One is it has pretty bad color fringing and chromatic aberration. That's pretty bad. And probably an additional thing is it has some okay-ish ghosting. It does a little bit of that, and that's not that great. But what's great about this lens is it does have 7 aperture blades in it, which means that when I go ahead and take pictures of bokeh, which I'll show you guys right now, which is one of my favorite pictures and also my screensaver for the moment, which is pretty awesome. It has some really rounded circles, which are really nice. These are just standard lights and have really, really rounded circles on them. That's due to these 7 aperture blades that's inside this lens. And another great thing about this lens that I think is absolutely remarkable is that the autofocusing system is actually pretty quick. It's very fast to focus. Now that's due to the focal length, of course. But the other thing that it's due to is that it's a good quality lens. It just runs fast on the focusing system or the autofocusing system that GH4 has. So it's a great lens. So this lens, would I use it as my primary film lens? Well, if I didn't just buy a Rokinon lens, I would probably use this one. It's actually not too bad. It looks professional too. You leave the lens hood on, it actually looks pretty professional, especially put it behind a matte box. It's actually not too bad. So this lens, if I could rate it 10 being the best, this lens is the best lens I ever purchased, and 1 being the worst, I'd probably give this lens I'd say around a 7, because it shoots great quality images. It doesn't have a stabilizer built into it. It has some chromatic aberration. There's some ghosting on there. It does have the 7 aperture blades, which I am in love with. And you don't really see a lot of vibrations with this lens because it's such a wide angle at 25 millimeters. And the other thing I don't like, which is just a little thing of mine, is that when I go ahead and connect the lens to my GH4, it just has this it's just rough to connect. It doesn't have that smooth spin. It just feels like it's scratching the mount on the GH4 because it's such a flat surface. If you look at the mount on this, it's just flat, just straight flat. It doesn't have like that little beveled edge. So yeah, the lens is great. I would definitely use it for a music video, no doubt. This lens is just overall just strong, powerful lens. So what I'm going to do right now is, since this is the end of the video, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys some sample images, just show you guys some of the things that I've taken with this lens, get a little bit of ideas, and remember this, that I chose this lens for 2 reasons. One is the lens is cheap. It's inexpensive, right? It's inexpensive. It's $150. It's not that bad. I'm sure you can get one used on like eBay for probably $90, but just for something this cheap, just buy a new one. The other thing I bought this lens for, which was incredibly important, was that I knew going in with this lens that the image quality is not going to be perfection, but I knew that I will be able to fix it in post-production. If I'm taking video, I know I can add a Super 8 effect, and of course that can be done with any lens, but I know I can go ahead and add sharpening myself. I know that I can go ahead and color correct it, and I know I can fix the chromatic aberration in Photoshop and things like that. Like, it's not that important, you know? The edges, yeah, they're not that sharp, but if you go ahead and, if you're just taking it's a single image, like a picture, if you mask out the edges in Photoshop, you can add sharpness to those edges and kind of even out the sharpness throughout the image. So that's pretty much it for me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm going to go ahead and leave some sample images and some sample video that I have taken with this lens. And hopefully you guys enjoy it, and I will see you guys in the next video.